Hi everyone. Today we've got a very special guest with us. It's Gerard Keledjian. Gerard is a media professional and immigrant entrepreneur. We actually met quite a few years ago through the Immigrant Cafe back in 2015 in Toronto. Hi Gerard, thank you very much for being here with us. How are you today?
I'm good, and thank you for the opportunity, Emmanuel. It's my pleasure to be here today.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be here. Gerard, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you do, and what your main audience is?
I'm the founder and managing director of New Horizons Media, which is a social enterprise for content creation and video production. So basically, I work with a team of internationally trained media professionals and also Canadian-born young graduates to help Canadian not-for-profit organizations with their storytelling, with getting their message out. And in addition to helping those organizations, we also produce a TV show. So we have our own media production. And the TV show is a national show for newcomers to Canada.
For newcomers in Canada, eh?
Yes, and hence the name of the show, New Canadians.
New Canadians, right? So remember this name, New Canadians. We're gonna get to have the chance to speak more about it. Excellent. So can you tell me more about your background personally and professionally? What made you first move to Canada, right? You're not from Canada originally, you're an immigrant, and how you have evolved professionally since landing in Canada.
Yes, I moved to Canada in December 2010, and I'm from Lebanon originally, and my heritage is Armenian. And in 2003, I had moved to Dubai to work, and from there I came to Canada. The main reason was, as you may know, Lebanon has witnessed wars and instability for as long as I can remember, even before I was born. And when I moved to Dubai and I enjoyed that peace and working and achieving in a peaceful environment, I knew that I don't want to go back to Lebanon, and I was looking for where I can settle permanently and be able to contribute to society and achieve and work on my dreams. And I had heard very nice things about Canada. I had a very good impression of Canada, and I decided I'll take the chance and I'll take the risk and make the move. So this is on the personal side. On the professional side, my background is journalism, media and journalism. And throughout my career before being here, I've worked for print and broadcast news organizations. And after moving to Canada, of course, as any other immigrant, there will be a struggle, no matter how much you're prepared. And in my case, it was even longer struggle because I made so many mistakes, and that experience played a big role, a big factor in deciding what or determining what I want to do in Canada, which eventually turned into helping other immigrants be successful here. And I changed a bit or transferred my skills from working for a news organization or for a TV station into working with clients. And instead of the story being broadcast on the 6 p.m. newscast, it just went on the client's website or their social media channel.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I like how you really put it out there, that you say you made mistakes and somehow you learned. Not only you learned from these mistakes, but you wanted to make the path easier for other immigrants, right? Using these mistakes that you say you made in the past. So if we were to speak a little more in here, because I believe the audience is really job related, interested in how they can get fulfillment work-wise in their lives. So what were the main obstacles that you would say you actually had to overcome regarding the job market, but also in terms of of mindset, right? Like in terms of mistakes, but the fears you had to overcome as you grew your projects.
Yeah, in my case, so remember I moved in 2010. At that time, uh, specifically regarding immigrants, there were uh, no resources, or not as today. There was no New Canadians, for example, TV show or web series to
Totally,
inform
yeah.
newcomers about the journey here. So my whole strategy or plan was, because I had friends here, so I didn't worry about where I will kind of live, or how will I rent a room, or how will I get, let's say, my social insurance number. I didn't worry about those because those were very easy. Like, so my worry was, because I was a news producer, I was working in news, so I wanted to be ready from day one.
Hmm.
So from the day I applied for immigration to the day I actually moved, which took about a little over 3 years, I studied Canadian politics, or Canadian news, and I had even one of the Canadian newspapers as my homepage. Whenever I opened my browser, I used to see that newspaper, because my thinking was that I wanted to follow what's happening, who are the players, who are kind of, what issues are being talked about every day. And
Hmm.
because I used to see the homepage of that newspaper, immigrant stories or news or challenges at that time never made it to the front page. So I didn't even have any doubt that there will be a struggle. And my friends as well, they had immigrated long time ago. Even they had kind of forgotten the immigrant journey. And so even they didn't raise any issues. So I was totally focused on studying Toronto, where I landed, and who's the prime minister, what are the issues, what all these things. So when I moved, it was Christmas time, so I enjoyed the holidays, and right after that, uh, like a cold blow in the winter, like a cold wind in the winter, I was right away struck that something is not right, something is not working, and because I had a couple of I started applying. I had a couple of interviews as well, and I kind of got lost or thrown into a confusion cycle. And the worst thing was I didn't know what was the actual issue, or how could I get out of that cycle. I didn't know there's support or things, that steps I can take on my own. Networking, for example, the word networking, I don't remember when I heard it for the first time, but for me, networking is IT. That's how the word was used back in the Middle East, where I came from. When you heard
Hmm.
network or networking, it's immediately you thought of IT networks,
Wow.
not personal or professional networks.
Okay, so
And
it was
or
totally foreign for you, the notion of
Yeah,
networking with people.
yes, and so this was kind of confusion, and I
Hmm.
because I was overwhelmed and got confused, I couldn't figure out what exact problem was. Just that I know that something is not working.
Hmm.
And then the next mistake that I did was uh, the thing that, because I'm multi-skilled in media, so I've worked in print, I've worked in magazine publishing, I've worked in broadcast news, I even worked in social media, when in the beginning days of social media, when media organizations didn't know how to use social media for. So I launched them social media properties and department of the TV channel where I was working. So I was multi-skilled. The next mistake I did was jumping from one type of job or sector to the other very quickly. Let's say the first month I applied for broadcast jobs, I didn't get results. Second month I was looking for social media jobs. Third month I was looking for print jobs, uh,
Hmm.
and those are me. This is a big mistake where you're not giving anyone a chance to understand what you do. You're making them even confused, where you're doing all these things, or and not kind of establishing yourself as the expert in your field. So
Mm.
I was not helping even others to know me, and I was not myself as well. I was not understanding, let's say, because I was not focused on one sector,
Mhm.
how to get hired in the broadcast media, for example.
I
Who are the
love.
major players? What
Uh,
to network with people, understand where are the opportunities that might be coming from,
yeah.
where I can kind of position myself. So those kind of cycles, the wrong preparation, I would say. I was totally prepared for the second phase, but I completely didn't know that there was a phase before that where I need to establish myself, make all these connections. In the back of my mind, I was comparing unconsciously comparing my experience of moving from Dubai to Canada to my experience of moving from Beirut to Dubai, from Lebanon to Dubai. And it went well. So I managed to live on my own. In Lebanon, I used to live with my family. So I managed to live on my own, establish friends. Everything kind of went very well, but there was support, right? In the company was supporting us, all of the overseas hires in Dubai. I didn't know about all these challenges, right? And I came prepared for the second phase, and that kind of threw me into a whole cycle of confusion and of being overwhelmed, not knowing how to move forward. And every immigrant will face some challenges, no matter how much you're prepared. But with the right support, with the right approach, with the right steps taken, that struggle maybe only a few weeks or a few months. In my case, I prolonged my struggle into 18 months, and that was the big challenge. And even I, because of those mistakes I did, and some even couple of mistakes that cost me financially, I even lost my judgment in my decision making, in that I'm able to take right decisions. So I ended up finding myself in situations where the solution was in front of me, right? But I was so doubting myself. I was so afraid that what if this is not the right decision, or this, what if I make another mistake, that I take a step that is in the wrong direction. And so I kind of stopped in my place, like not moving forward, not move, which is in fact moving backwards if everyone is
So,
forward.
so first off, I want to acknowledge everything you say, which is a lot of information, and I wanted to say that I especially appreciate the two tips you just gave here. And what you did, first off, you say that you started to analyze uh, how Canada was working, basically how the government works, what are the rules, how the country is shaped, and everything back from when you were living in Dubai, right? You were
Yes.
analyzing
Yes.
all of this. So like, and you started years before even moving to Canada, right? Because it took you 3 years in order to get your visa. So when you arrived here, you were already sort of like, at least you had a level of comprehension about how the country worked. Then you said you were actually you brought professionally, you brought the same mindset as the one you had when you transitioned from Lebanon to Dubai, right? Which is about, okay, I'm going to apply here and there, and I'm going to find something. And somehow you realized through this hardship that Canada is a country of specialization, right? That you say it's actually better to invest in one segment. So as you said, to become like the expert in one niche. And this is what you did basically, right? Like after
Yes. One
testing
or two, like, yeah, one or two,
one or
depending.
two,
Yeah.
but basically to be seen as a specialist somewhere, right? That that corresponds to you and your background professionally, right?
Yeah, and also the versatility and the flexibility, which is a tip I always tell immigrants. In my case, I because I my background is media, I was looking for jobs in the media sector, in specifically in news organizations, and I was networking when I started kind of understanding the concept of networking, and I started networking. and making contacts in news organizations or TV stations. But I also, when I knew that there are resources for newcomers and for immigrants or organizations that help them. I started also to interact with them, going to events, and because I was free, I didn't have
Yeah.
a job at that time. After about maybe 6 months, when I was going through my business cards, the business cards I had collected at all these events or all these meetings, I realized that the business cards I had made in the immigration sector were 3 times the cards I had in the media sector. And I was happy in one way that I had made all these contacts, but in another way, I was a bit sad that all these people who were in the immigration sector, they didn't have a newspaper, or they didn't have a radio station, they didn't have a TV station. So in my mind, they didn't have a job for me. That what my initial thought was that yes, it's good to make all these social contacts, but I also need a job. So I was looking at the other cards of in the media sector. But here is it took some time to understand, but the flexibility and the versatility that when opportunity comes to you and you realize that the skills you have are of value or of help, then sometimes you have to shift or modify your strategy as well, and follow that path. In my case, all these organizations that I was connected to in the immigration sector. So I should add as well that what kind of helped in me having all these contacts was I volunteered for a community channel in Toronto, and they offered me to help me produce a small show because they were a community channel. And after observing and thinking, I decided I realized that there was a gap, and I decided to launch a TV show for explaining all these resources for newcomers so that they succeed, right? Things that took me about 18 months. Yeah. I wanted just to explain. And at that point, my goal was not to continue that program. Just it was my kind of local Canadian experience or media experience that I planned eventually to use to get into news organizations. But what happened?
Just going to say one thing here. It's actually really interesting because just want to ask you a little more about this. We've got the philosophy of being of adopting networking, the mindset of networking, right? To eventually get where you want to go professionally. Yet you say it's very important to be flexible and take an opportunity when it comes. So it's kind of, I believe, where a lot of immigrants might have some issues is to say, okay, what about money? You gotta have money, right? You gotta take what comes. And yet I've got to, for those who have, who know what they want to do, the dream they want to fulfill for themselves, how can they work on both sides, right?
Yeah. So this is another tip as well, and I'll give this tip and then continue the flexibility point. But I always tell, and for newcomers that I meet or immigrants that I meet, have a long-term strategy and kind of map it down. What do you want and where do you want to go? What do you want to work kind of on the long term? Let's say you're an engineer and you want to work in engineering or in an engineering field. Put that plan and map it out. Let's say how long it might take. Let's say it might take 5 years. Okay, what are the things that you can do or you need to do? Map them out and try to follow that. Verify that it's, let's say, whatever your end goal is actually doable, is realistic, and move in that direction. It might take a bit longer, a bit shorter. There are so many roads that take you to the same destination. So sometimes you get lost, you might take a longer road. That's fine, but move into that direction. In the meantime, it's okay to do some other jobs. even if it's a survival job, it's okay, as long as it doesn't kind of stop you from pursuing uh, your that long-term strategy. For example, if you're an engineer and you want to be an engineer, and there is a certification that you need to take, a course, or there's a bridging program that will significantly help you to in that on that path. If it's in the day, don't go and work in the day. Work in the evening. Work on the weekends, so that you can still make some money to pay your rent, to pay your bills, to buy your food. But at the same time, you are moving closer on your destination. I know one of the stories we've covered on New Canadians was a social worker who used to, and you can see the story on the New Canadians website, newcanadians.tv. He used to, he decided to be a social worker, so he changed his profession. He used to clean, work as a cleaner. He used to clean a company from 11 p.m. till 6 a.m., then
Oh,
go home, change, and then go to George Brown College to study to do the certificate. So it took him
wow.
some time. He, in the story, he tells that he used to uh, put the books on his cleaning cart while he's cleaning, and he used to kind of uh, while moving from one, let's say, one office to the other, or one area to the other, he used to review his notes because he didn't have much time, but he needed to focus, right? So
Incredible, yeah.
uh, so do have a long-term strategy, and change it as needed. Like sometimes there may be obstacles or challenge and stuff. You need to modify slightly, but at least you know where your goal is, your destination is, and move once, even if it's one step every few months, but move in that direction. And in the meantime, yes, it's okay to do any job. And then one of the nice things in Canada is that there's no shame in doing any job, as long as you're kind of genuine, you're hardworking, you're kind of focused. There's no shame in doing it. All jobs are respected. That's a very positive thing about Canada, that we
Love
don't have
that,
it,
yeah.
like, for example, in the Middle East. And so to this point as well of flexibility, when the volunteer show that I did, like about 6 episodes, one of the benefits of that show was, other than creating my local media experience in Canada, was it helped me connect with influencers, with decision makers, with important people in the immigration sector, the executive directors of settlement agencies, the senior managers in employment agencies, which normally you can't meet as a newcomer. Like you have, so it helped me make all these connections, and they saw in me the skills that I have: storytelling, getting the message out, and they started approaching me to help them with storytelling, with producing videos, or with helping them kind of get their message out in better ways or in newer ways. And uh, and because I was passionate about helping people generally, but helping, in this case, newcomers as well, who like me, at
Mhm.
least avoid the mistakes I did. So I realized that my future was, or where I was going to be happy, was not in news, in broadcast news, where I had worked for the past 12 years, but in that space where immigration and media come together. And that's how or that's when I started realizing that I need to modify my strategy and start helping those organizations with their content needs, with their video needs, because
Mhm.
my news background helped me, gave me so many ideas and experience
Mhm.
to come up with professional content cost effectively. So this is something no regular video production houses will not kind of know, or will not walk on that path. So I use those skills, those experiences from my professional background, and I transferred it into helping all those organizations. In the meantime, because I had created that social enterprise, I had created or I had acquired all these resources that would help me with production, I wanted also to relaunch my volunteer experience of having a TV show for newcomers into having a show not just for Toronto in this case, but taking it nationally and going on national television, and as well establishing an online presence and taking it beyond the borders of Canada, so that if you're moving from France or if you're moving from Lebanon or India, you can watch the journeys of other newcomers. You can learn about all these resources and be better informed, and by being better informed, make better decisions. Of course, it
Wow.
will still be a struggle, but
Yeah.
it will be much better of a journey than what I had or maybe what you had.
I love what you say, and I'm noticing quite a few things in here. First, I really want to acknowledge how you actually brought together your talent of being creator and your skills really regarding media with your experience and what you consider as mistakes, which turn out to be opportunities because you have yourself struggled so much from the absence of such a structure that would help new immigrants land the ideal job or guide them in whatever their environment, that you, because you suffered from this, you put together your skills, your talents, and your connections to reframe that. And am I right to say that this is what you created here was not something that was already existing? It was kind of like a niche in the market. There
Yes.
was a need for that, and you saw that, you explored that, and you brought together your experience, your talents, and just created something amazing out of this that now is helping tons of people.
Yes, this is the point. I would emphasize it again that sometimes I mean, you have to observe and you have to look around you, because sometimes opportunities come on and knocking on your door, and you can still use your skills, your talents, but maybe in a different way. In my case, it took me some time to realize that, but I managed to do it successfully, because all these organizations, not for profits, they are generally challenged with funding, right? So if I
Yeah.
gave them solutions that help them with the content, with their messaging, with their communications. And at the same time, I helped as well myself and other internationally trained media professionals use their skills meaningfully, and also helping on the broadly newcomers in general with having a better journey here. I've achieved so much success. I'm still doing storytelling. I'm still doing uh, I'm still using all my experiences and skills and knowledge in media, but
Mhm.
just differently. Instead of working for a news organization, I'm working for not-for-profit organizations, and the distribution or the broadcast of this content created is being done differently. The mistake I see with some newcomers, they they kind of stick to one thing, like I want to work in this, but sometimes better opportunities come your way.
Mhm.
So just stopping by and taking a pause and evaluating that opportunity. So sometimes it's okay to say no, but sometimes the opportunity might be much better than what you're originally thinking or planning or originally planned.
Mhm.
So sometimes change is good. So embrace that. In my case, I'm so passionate and I'm so happy working here. Now even I don't want to go back into working in news organizations. Now I'm happy because I'm still using my skills, but at the same time I'm getting more satisfaction because my work is having an impact on people's lives, not
Yeah.
just informing them, but making a positive change, positive impact in the outcome of their journey in Canada.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, and actually, that's what I wanted to ask you more about. Can you speak a little more about what you created? What's the big purpose of it, and how your channel is actually helping Canadians, like, and what feels fulfills you about this most?
Yeah, so the main company I created is New Horizons Media. So it's a it's a company with a social mission. It's a social enterprise.
Yeah.
And I want to help organizations, but I do that by giving opportunities to others as well. In my case, that small volunteer opportunity in media was a big opportunity to regain my confidence, to regain my respect to my judgment, and it was a big opportunity that helped me be on the path I wanted. So now I give the same opportunity and even bigger opportunities for other newcomers who immigrate to Canada with media skills, with communication skills. For some, it's just a small internship or very kind of short experience, just so that they get that confidence that they can use their skills and get the job and get the reference, and they move on to other opportunities. For some, I still work together, and I also work with a bridging program for media professionals to give them opportunities. So all this is to create opportunities for newcomers to establish themselves. I'm speaking in this case newcomers who have a media background or a communications background, just professionally to establish themselves, to get that feeling that, hey, the skills I have, the experience I have works for Canada. It's just that I need to present it in a different way. I need to use a different vocabulary. And so that short opportunity will really help them be on a good professional path. And specifically through the TV show, the national TV show, New Canadians that we produce for newcomers, and also through that show by working with all these immigrant serving organizations, by helping them articulate the excellent work they do to help newcomers, by showcasing all these resources, all these services, all these immigrant success stories. We help thousands and thousands of immigrants who are coming to Canada every year build a better future here, and also helping the country get benefit of the resources and the contributions of all these newcomers. Just that satisfaction means millions to me. After every webinar, after every meeting or filming, or when someone totally stranger to me, for example, approaches and, hey, thank you for organizing that webinar, or thank you for talking about this resource on your TV show. Because of that, now I'm able to do this, or I was able to achieve this. So you see daily, you feel and you see the impact of your work. That's a big blessing, and that's what drives me personally. That's what drives me to continue doing the work I do, and to continue growing in this field, and so that we're able to help even more people in different and newer ways as well.
That's an amazing contribution. Yeah, indeed. I can sense the passion for helping others and go through something easier than the path you took yourself. Tammy, I just wanted to ask you, because we are in January 2021, and these are a bit of strange times, right, with COVID. I wanted to know how did you see through New Canadians? How did you see like the job market being impacted, and what are the changes that you see? Obviously, people are going more remote. Is there any other things that you see that impact new immigrants, or like any tips on how they can sort of like come here with COVID, or find a work, find a job?
It is a very challenging time, to say the least, and strange as well. And we are still in the midst of this pandemic, right? So and you need to adapt, you need to change, you need to do some things differently. And even we as an organization, we even adapted by launching a virtual chat series on our YouTube channel, in addition to our TV show on TV. And and we're doing weekly panel discussions, and we're meeting virtually many newcomers who have landed during the pandemic or just before the pandemic. So I always like talking to them and meeting them virtually or in person and in normal times, just to see that struggle. So during speaking about 2021 or the past year as well, 2020, you have to change, you have to adapt. So the it's a bit slightly more challenges maybe, or more challenging than what would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of support as well, because the support being offered is adapting as well to be able to help all these people.
Everyone is becoming more flexible.
Yes, and new opportunities are coming up as well. Yes, certain sectors are suffering. Business is suffering,
Yeah.
or other services that kind of more rely on have to rely on in person, or it is challenging. However, there's tons of, because everyone is moving virtually, so there are tons of support as well. New employees are needed. So still, if IT was in demand yesterday, today it's even 10 times more in demand.
Yeah.
Because they need such people, right? So still new opportunities are coming up. Even us as an organization, new opportunities are coming up during the pandemic. You just have to stay positive as much as you can, and continue implementing the strategy you have, the long-term strategy I had mentioned earlier. Just that now you have to do things slightly differently. You still have to network, but now 99% of networking is done, or even 100% is done virtually, right? So you have to do it, not sit in your house and just wait for the pandemic to be over. But there are so many meetups, so many webinars, so many conferences that you can be part of. And the nice thing, now you can approach people even more easily than it was before. If you like to work for a company, and that the CEO of that company maybe is a panelist in one of the virtual conferences, or maybe they are a panelist in a webinar, go and attend that webinar, because you can ask questions. There's no gatekeeper, I would say. Let's say you can ask your question in the Q&A box, right? And impress that CEO or that manager in that company. Impress them with your question. If you ask intelligent, smart questions, you impress people. And then during the webinar or during the conference, there would be a possibility to know if it's okay to connect with that person on LinkedIn, for example. Then send them a message and compliment them on a point they mentioned. Let's say, I don't know, if you're in the mining sector, for example, and they spoke about some developments or some new technology in mining, or so if you're from the mining background, when you when you message them on LinkedIn, comment on something they mentioned, that, oh, I really like the point you raised about this new technology that's coming up, whatever, and try to link it as well to something you've done. So that connection is not just any connection on LinkedIn, but it's a meaningful connection. You impress them, and then you stay in their mind, because they will follow you. They will see some of the activities you're doing. They will kind of give them opportunities to, by commenting on other posts, give them opportunities to see your knowledge, see your kind of expertise, and down the road, the opportunity will come. This is a tip I would say as well, that don't be kind of pushy. I know you need a job, but by playing that long-term strategy, you will get much better, bigger results than just being focused on, I need a job, I just need my first job. without kind of having that long-term view of things.
I love this. I love this. Again, the separation, that the demarcation you're making between having the long-term vision and being flexible in order to make money and get a job, right? While fitting into your vision, right? I it's I hope you all heard these. I especially noticed when you say you spoke about the art, because that's an art of asking relevant, intelligent questions in order to stick in the mind of the person you want to get closer to, right? And that's I think it's a very, very good advice in here. If you've already shared a lot of tips, so if we had like three, what would be your three most powerful tips as we wrap up the interview to give to individuals looking to land a job that fulfills them, like immigrants or even not immigrants would say? What would those three tips be?
So I gave some of my tips during our discussion, and I can give so many other tips as well. But just kind of
Let's
to
say
maybe
three main.
recap, yeah,
Yeah,
just to kind of
exactly.
recap and short. So my first tip would be have a long-term strategy and a short or medium-term strategy, because you need to survive, you need to live, but have that long-term strategy and verify it. The other tip would be invest in relationships and network authentically. Just don't network just because that person will might give you a job, or just if that person is good to have in your professional network with that person and keep them in your network. Maintain that relationship. I like planting a seed. Plant seeds. Sometime down the road, somewhere, you will get some harvest out of it. So the second is network authentically and invest in relationship, in good connections. And the third tip would be observe around you, learn from the experiences of others, and be flexible. Sometimes just looking at others, what they are doing or what they are not doing, is helpful. So much helpful. So long-term strategy, network authentically, and invest in relationship, and observe around you. That would be kind of my three tips.
And those are very, very powerful tips. Thank you very much, Gerard. Is there any message you would like to give to people? Where can they find you, and anything you want to say to our audience?
Yes. To whoever is watching, they can. I'm open to be connected with on LinkedIn, so they can send me a direct message. If they're newcomers to Canada, they can also. I would invite them also to watch New Canadians on TV. It airs on Omni across Canada every week, or they can anytime they can visit the website newcanadians.tv or our YouTube channel, New Canadians, and watch these stories, watch these videos, because succeeding in Canada is not kind of 1 + 1 = 2. That's kind of very straightforward or easy. Just one thing that you can do and then you can succeed. So it's a process. It takes some time. It takes months and years to understand all these things. And through the content we're creating, we want to help them succeed one video at a time, one story at a time, by learning all these resources, all these experiences, immigrant journeys. It might sound or it might seem lots of struggles at the beginning when you land and the first few months. But Canada is a land of opportunities, and it allows you to achieve so many things. Just you need to pass that initial stage of struggle as soon as you can, as best as you can, and then you will see that beauty of how beautiful the country is, how full of opportunities it is, and you will start benefiting or kind of taking part in this. Just use all the resources. Don't be afraid. Use all the resources, such as New Canadians, such as all the immigrant serving organizations we talk about. other steps that you can take on your own, like networking or getting a mentor, for example, or use all these resources to speed up that process and succeed at the end. I always use a small example. The immigrant journey in Canada, I kind of say it looks like playing the game of Monopoly or Risk or one of these board games.
Mhm.
You need to understand the rules. Once you understand the rules, then you can win. You have a fair chance of winning at the game. So the process, the challenge is for any newcomer is understanding the rules of the game. At New Canadians, we're helping newcomers with that. There are other resources as well. Understand the rules of the game, then naturally you will see the beauty of the country and succeed on the long term in Canada.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Gerard. So New Canadian CV is the place to go. Thank you very much for all the amazing tips you shared with the audience, and wishing you very well with the rest of your adventure, broadcasting adventure and New Canadians adventure.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for the opportunity to share my journey, some of my tips and my experience. Always happy to help and to make an impact, positive impact on people's lives. So always, it's my pleasure.
Thank you very much, Gerard. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
How was it?
It was really good. Very good content. Took us a little longer than planned, but
it's fine,
it's all right. It was just an idea.
Yeah, you can edit if there are parts you want to shorten, you can edit.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, you know what? I think for the